Why the Korean War made Filipinos battle-tested heroes. Imagine being thrown into a freezing battlefield, far from home, under relentless enemy fire. That's exactly what happened to young Filipino soldiers during the Korean War. Through Yultong, Hill Eerie, and Arsenal Hill, they forged a legacy of unmatched heroism and became battle-tested heroes in the world's eyes. Chapter 1. From Home to Distant Hills, PEFTOK's journey begins. In August 1950, roughly 1,468 Filipino troops embarked on their most challenging mission yet, answering the United Nations call to defend South Korea from invasion. These were the Philippine Expeditionary Force to Korea, or PEFTOK, the fifth largest UN contingent entering the war. They landed in Busan, a strategic port surrounded by chaos and retreating armies. Imagine stepping off a ship into freezing air, surrounded by destruction and unfamiliar faces. But Filipino soldiers wasted no time. They trained swiftly alongside US, British, and Turkish units, molding into a united, battle-ready force. Their first taste of combat came quickly. In the Battle of Yultong, or Sinew, in November 1950, First Sergeant Maximo P leapt onto his tank during an ambush. Coolly, he manned the machine gun turret and held back an entire enemy advance. His bravery inspired his comrades and earned him the Gold Cross Medal, the first Filipino victory on foreign soil. PEFTOK wasn't just a symbolic force, they proved their mettle in the field. As 1951 began, 900 Filipino soldiers stood on Hill Yultong, or Yultong-ri, facing a tidal wave of 15,000 enemy troops. That moment would become one of the most legendary stands of the Korean War. Chapter 2. The Battle of Yultong, Against All Odds. The soft spring night of April 22, 1951, cracked open with the roar of war. Filipino soldiers from the 10th Battalion Combat Team, about 900 men, stood guard over the hills near Yultong, North Korea. They were already battling fatigue and cold, but they never imagined the storm that was about to break. Because when 15,000 Chinese troops advanced in waves, nearly 17 times more than the Filipino defenders, the sky roared with artillery, rifles spat fire, and hilltops turned red with chaos. The Chinese spring offensive had arrived in full force. But these soldiers knew one thing very clearly. They weren't just defending land, they were defending lives, honor, and the name of their country. Every Filipino held his ground, not retreating, not faltering. In the midst of close-quarter combat, they pressed forward, even as their allies faltered. When the dust settled, Filipinos had done the impossible. They killed over 500 enemy soldiers, wounded dozens, and held their position, earning respect and forever earning the title, the Fighting 10th. Only 12 of their comrades died, and 38 were wounded, with 6 missing. Captain Conrado Yap and First Lieutenant Jose Arteaga, Jr. paid the highest price, dying in action, yet securing immortal honors. They were posthumously awarded the Philippine Medal of Valor and even the U.S. Distinguished Service Cross. This was more than a battle. It was a defining moment. These young Filipino soldiers proved they were not just allies, they were legends carved in fire. Chapter 3. Hill Eerie. Ramos leads against the impossible. At first light on May 21, 1952, a small but determined Filipino platoon prepares for a daring mission. Led by Second Lieutenant Fidel Ramos, just a fresh graduate from West Point, they face a hill dubbed Hill Eerie, a strategic stronghold the Chinese had fortified with bunkers, machine guns, and barbed wire. Earlier attempts failed, 9 assaults had already been repelled, and commanders were desperate. Colonel Salvador Absete turned to Ramos. He responded with a bold plan. Split the 44-man team into 4 squads: snipers, scouts, riflemen, and forward observers, each with its own medic and radio man. Just before dawn, they crawled through damp rice paddies, inching toward the enemy under whispers of prayer and fear. At exactly 047, just as the sky began to lighten, Ramos hit send. Jets swooped in. 7 F-86 Sabre fighters dropped naphthalene, scorching the bunkers. At that moment, artillery fire erupted behind them. When the rockets stopped, Ramos signaled the attack. The platoon charged, guns blazing. They shredded through the wire, threw grenades into bunkers, and reclaimed Hill Eerie in just 2 hours. Remarkably, they suffered only one injury. The Chinese losses were staggering, over 1,100 dead. This fearless feat earned media headlines across Korea. A tiny force blazing through impossible odds and succeeding. It remains the last defining UN push on that hill, a story of courage few knew until now. Chapter 4. Outpost 8. Bloodhounds battle Arsenal Hill. As the war raged into June 1952, a fearless group emerged, the 19th Battalion Combat Team, known as the Bloodhounds. Fresh from anti-insurgency fights at home, they were the 3rd PEFT unit deployed to toughen defenses in Korea's Chorwon-Suboni corridor. On June 15th, they took charge of Combat Outpost No. 8, consisting of Hill 191, Arsenal Hill, and Hill Eerie, one of the UN's most vulnerable defense sectors. 2 days later, on June 18th, the Chinese launched a massive artillery barrage on the outpost. Filipino artillery, bolstered by experienced 20th BCT gunners left behind, hit back hard, destroying 2 Chinese tanks and keeping the line from crumbling. Then came the nightmarish infantry wave. Under cover of darkness, the Chinese assault this critical hill, hoping to smash PEFT's defenses. But these defenders were well dug in. Through relentless counter-battery fire, their trenches held strong, and by dawn on June 21, they'd repelled the enemy. The Chinese left over 500 dead on the field, while the Bloodhounds paid a heavy price, 8 killed, 16 wounded, but the outpost remained theirs. This fierce night-long stand, known today as the Rizal Day Battle, became one of the most heroic acts of PEFT. South Korea even honored the unit with the Presidential Unit Citation, and the U.S. awarded them the X-Corps Battle Citation, recognizing their bravery and fierce resolve. Chapter 5. Legacy and Recognition, From Battlefield to Memory. After the fierce battles in Korea, something incredible happened. Filipino soldiers did more than survive. They forever changed how the world saw them. These courageous warriors earned a reputation that would echo from the hills of Korea all the way to the halls of power back home. Over 7,400 Filipino soldiers served in PEFT, fighting in key battles like Yultong, Hill Eerie, and Arsenal Hill, earning them the nickname Fighting Filipinos. Their bravery was recognized by allies and former enemies alike. South Korea awarded them the Presidential Unit Citation, and even the U.S. honored their heroism. But they didn't just fight, they forged a legacy. In 2012, the PEFT Korean War Memorial Hall opened near Fort Bonifacio in Manila. It's a solemn place filled with artifacts, photos, and stories that honored their sacrifices. Former President Fidel V. Ramos, himself a PEFT veteran, helped bring this memory to life. Every year, South Korea honors Filipino veterans with wreath-laying ceremonies and heartfelt tributes. In one recent gathering, South Korean youth presented veterans with flowers and words like "Salamat po" for giving us a future. Now even books like Alfredo's Diary, featuring first-hand accounts from PEFT soldiers, are being taught in schools here in Korea, so their courage continues to inspire hearts around the world. Chapter 6. Why Filipino soldiers became battle-tested heroes. From the icy hills of Korea to the heartlands of the Philippines, the legacy of PEFT isn't just written in medals, it's etched in hearts. These brave soldiers, like Captain Conrado Yap at Yultong, Lieutenant Fidel Ramos at Hill Eerie, and the Bloodhounds on Arsenal Hill, did more than fight. They forged the Filipino spirit into a symbol of courage. Their valor didn't go unnoticed. Decades later, in 2025, the Philippine Army and Department of National Defense held solemn ceremonies honoring PEFT veterans at the Korean War Memorial Pylon in Fort Bonifacio. Army Chief LT General Neferete led the wreath-laying, a proud salute to a story the world still remembers. Not just in Manila, over in Korea, an international peace group held a deeply emotional tribute in Parañaque in June 2025. Veterans like Rodrigo Areno of the 14th BCT and Prudencio Manuel of the 2nd BCT shared their wartime stories, while young Koreans presented them with messages like "Salamat po" for giving us a future. Even news stories emerged today, such as Alfredo's Diary, a moving published journal of a 10th BCT veteran offering first-hand glimpses into the daily life of a Filipino soldier in Korea. It's being used in schools to teach world history, not as fiction, but true heroism. These acts of fighting, surviving, teaching, and remembering transformed Filipino soldiers into battle-tested heroes, forging a legacy that inspires both Filipinos and Koreans alike. If you found this story of bravery, unity, and unbroken spirit inspiring, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment below. What part of the PEFT story moved you the most? Your support helps bring more untold chapters of heroism to light. Thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, and commenting to our video. Stay curious, stay brave. God bless us all.